I am going to pre-order either Battlefield 6 or Call of Duty Black Ops 7. Which one do you think I should pre-order? Of course, we have Call of Duty BO7 here, Vault Edition. Get a lot of cool stuff in here. You're getting your tier skips, of course, your first battle pass, 1,100 points, operator collection, some gobble gums and stuff like that. I don't really use a whole lot of gobble gums myself. Black Cell, 1 season. That's kind of cool. Of course, you're getting your 20 tier skips there. Okay. Over here on Battlefield 6, though, Phantom Edition, we're getting the Battlefield Pro token, which is like the Battle Pass, and I think like 25 tier skips, Phantom Pack, some soldier skins, 2 weapon packages, melee knife skin, vehicle skin, some other skins there, dog tag, XP booster, and of course you're getting Battlefield 6, whereas, you know, BO7 is going to be set in the future. It's going to have that chaotic, that really twitchy kind of cracked out movement that Call of Duty is known for, which I do like, especially on smaller maps. And then you have Battlefield 6, which is going to be more grounded. And one thing I really like that they did was they nerfed the jumping after the beta. Because one thing that I cannot stand in any kind of a shooter game is people who just spam jump over and over. Whether it's Fortnite, Call of Duty, Battle, it doesn't matter. I hate people who constantly jump. It's the most annoying thing to see in any shooter game. I personally don't mind crazy weird skins, but I cannot stand people who constantly jump. Sniping in Battlefield is always, I mean, it's so much better in Battlefield than it is in Call of Duty, where you have these tiny little maps where maybe you can get like an 80 meter, 100 meter snipe. While in Battlefield, you can get yourself some 400, 500, 800 meter snipes. And those are just so much more fun to do than in something like Call of Duty. And of course, there's the issue of skins. Now, I personally don't have a problem with weird, wacky skins. I actually like weird, wacky skins, at least in Call of Duty. And I've already explained this in a previous video. Basically, I find Call of Duty boring if you don't have some funny, silly skin, because otherwise it's just run around, shoot guy, run around, shoot guy, run around, shoot guy, because nobody plays together. Nobody plays objective. Call of Duty, multiplayer anyway, is all about who can get the most kills, who has the highest KD ratio, and who's going to do the most, you know, jumping and sliding and slide canceling and bunny hopping. And that's really what Call of Duty is about. There's also the consideration of how long these games are supported. So with Call of Duty, we're talking generally every single year there's a new release. So $100 every single year versus Battlefield, which generally is going to be somewhere between like 2 and 4 years or so between releases. I know EA had said perhaps they want to go to a yearly release, which I think is way too fast. In my estimation, I would say Battlefield 6 will last at least 2 years. I'm just kind of thinking it's going to be around 2 years, maybe 2.5 or so. But I really think Battlefield 6 is going to be supported much longer. Well, I know it's going to be supported much longer than Call of Duty Black Ops 7. But then it comes down to the gameplay. Just like, what kind of gameplay do you like? Do you like the really chaotic, twitchy movement that is Call of Duty, the running, the jumping, the sliding, all that kind of stuff? Or do you want more tactical movement, having to hide behind cover, a bit more, in fact, I would say actually a lot more realism, although Battlefield is not a realistic war simulation by any means at all. It is still an arcade shooter, but it does have more, you know, more realism than Call of Duty does. And that, I mean, that's an absolute fact. And in Battlefield, you have different roles, whether you're going to be assault, support, engineer, or recon, whereas in Call of Duty, it's basically just like a fantasy hero shooter where it's every person for themselves. So they're really kind of totally different types of games. In Call of Duty, it's always fun to just run and gun. You know, you can mindlessly run around, or you can really lock in and try to rack up 30 kills in a row and try to get yourself a nuke or something. So there's always something to do in both games, but there's probably a little more to do in Battlefield 6. Because again, you have those different roles. You can try to revive people, try to repair tanks, try to take out tanks, try to drive a tank and take out helicopters. There's really more to do in each game, especially whenever you consider in Call of Duty, nobody ever plays the objective, like ever. I'm always one of the dummies running into the hard point, just getting blown away as everybody else is just racking up their KD ratio. You know, there's also the issue of skins. Like I said, I personally do like wacky skins, just because they add another layer of entertainment. But for me anyway, that really only applies to Call of Duty because you don't have as much stuff to do in it. You just run around, shoot guy, run around, shoot guy, maybe capture an objective or something. Whereas again, in Battlefield, you have all the different roles, you have the vehicles, you have so much more that you can do, where for me personally, I don't really care that much about skins in Battlefield. Now don't get me wrong, I would not care at all if they had Family Guy in Battlefield 6. It wouldn't take me out of it, it wouldn't ruin my immersion, I don't care. Because let's be honest, neither of these games are immersive. The movement itself is so unrealistic that whenever you see somebody bunny hopping and slide canceling or getting shot in the face 35 times, that should ruin your immersion. Whenever you see 50% female operators, that should ruin your immersion, you know, because evolution and biology are real things. That should ruin your immersion. So I don't understand when people talk about wacky skins, because wacky skins are literally the most realistic thing in the entire game. And that's why I don't care about wacky skins. And that's why anybody who talks about immersion in these games seems to not understand literally how unrealistic everything else is. So the only way you can actually have immersion in a game that's already absurd is to have an absurd skin. That kind of stuff doesn't bother me. Wacky skins have never bothered me. I don't take these games seriously. I don't pretend like I'm a war guy, like I'm a soldier or something. I'm playing this game to basically beat the other team. And whatever I have to adapt to is just a part of the game. So if I have to adapt to a wacky skin, I will do that. I just see that personally, I see that as a part of the game. It doesn't take me out of the game, it's just a part of the game. So I don't care if they want to add Bart Simpson in Battlefield 6. It would not bother me in the least. But again, I don't really care that much about skins in Battlefield because I don't necessarily need things like silly voice lines like I need in Call of Duty, because again, for me, Call of Duty gets very, very boring if it's just run around shoot guy who can get the highest KD ratio for this game that lasts 1 year, because in the end, who cares? I don't care about that kind of stuff. I care about like what's more fun in gameplay overall. And then there's also the issue of them not having carry forward into Black Ops 7. They were going to have it until a bunch of crybabies wet their diapers and said, oh, we don't want that, whatever, because for some reason they have skill issues with a Beavis and Butthead skin, which doesn't make any sense because those skins are so easy to see, you think people would love them. I mean, you should be able to run up your KD ratio very easily with those very visible skins. And it's not even about having carryover or not having carryover. My issue with Activision is that they were going to have carryover, and then they listened to people who complained and people who don't buy skins. They listened to people who aren't paying for development of the game versus people who pay for development of the game by buying things like Black Cell or different microtransactions and bundles and whatever. So that's sort of a weird thing to me. It's like, why would you listen to people who aren't even funding further development of the game? That doesn't make sense. Because, well, I mean, I guess it does. What they want to do is just sell you more skins. Because let's not pretend they're not going to put wacky skins in BO7 within like 3 days. Okay, have you seen the Vault Edition skins, folks? Do any of those look realistic to you? Robot bus drivers, mecha guys in complete mecha suits? None of that looks authentic or grounded or realistic. Even for the year 2035, which Black Ops 7 is supposed to be, it's supposed to be set in. 10 years from now, I highly doubt we're going to be walking around in giant mechanical suits, but I mean, I guess we'll have to see. And I don't know why a robot bus driver somehow fits okay in that atmosphere, but the Terminator skin doesn't, or a Stan Smith skin doesn't. That argument doesn't make any sense to me. I really think they're going to do the same thing they did in Black Ops 6 when they said that, well, we're not going to allow carryover from Modern Warfare 3 because it doesn't fit the 90s. And then they immediately put a green fire-breathing dragon in Black Ops 6. It's like, okay, listen, I was alive in the 90s, folks, and I did not see a single glowing green fire-breathing dragon anywhere. Nor did I ever see a unicorn that farts pixie dust. I never saw any of that in the 90s. And yet it exists in Black Ops 6, which they said they were going to keep authentic to the 90s. So they're going to do the same thing in Black Ops 7. So the whole thing about no carry forward is a huge cop-out about trying to keep it authentic or immersion or whatever. That's just not the case. That's a total lie. So considering all that, I think the game that I'm going to get. Which one should I get, folks? Which one? Pre-order this one, pre-order this one.
Sweet.
What do you think?
Sweet. Pre-order.
Well, okay. The game I'm going to pre-order is Battlefield 6. That's right, folks. We're going to pre-order Battlefield 6. We are not going to pre-order Call of Duty Black Ops 7. And my main reason for that is that they canceled carryover after it was already announced, after they had already said they were going to do it. They canceled it. They said, okay, we're going to side with people who don't pay for the skins, who don't pay for development, over people who do pay for development. Again, I don't care. Listen, if they announced from the very beginning that they weren't going to carry over skins, I would have been fine with it, because that's generally how it works. But whenever they come out and say they are going to, and then they say, actually, no, we're not, and they give us some line about authenticity or environment when we already know what they're going to do, I'm just not going to pre-order that now. I was going to, and I was leaning toward that, and if they had carryover, I would have pre-ordered Call of Duty Black Ops 7. But because they kind of screwed over the paying customer, we are going to pre-order Battlefield 6 Phantom Edition. Let's hit that order button, folks. Boom! There we go, folks. We now own Battlefield 6 Phantom Edition. I will see you guys on the battlefield starting October 10th. I will be playing Black Ops 7 as well, because I have Game Pass Ultimate, so I'll be able to play it. I'll be able to play it anyway without having to pay $99. But there it is, folks. Pre-ordering Battlefield 6 Phantom Edition. Support this game. I think it's really going to be a good one. And let's hope EA doesn't screw us over like they do with literally everything else. You know, supporting EA versus supporting Activision is like supporting diarrhea versus constipation. You know, both of them aren't fun. Both of them are not fun. Both of them hurt. Both of them are not, you don't want either of them. But in this case, I'm going to go with diarrhea over constipation. I think it's better overall. And I think the people at Battlefield 6 and Battlefield Studios are going to make a really, really great game this year, because that beta was completely off the hook, man. It was, what a fun game that was, man. And by the way, I didn't buy Battlefield 6 because it's more realistic. I bought it because it's fun. Of course, most people will say never pre-order, but that's my choice. Well, let me know what your choice would be in the comments below. Are you going to pre-order Battlefield 6 or pre-order Black Ops 7 or pre-order neither, or play both, or pre-order both? Who knows? Listen, you can play both games. I'm going to play both games. But in this case, I'm going to pre-order and put my money with Battlefield 6 Phantom Edition. I will see you guys on the battlefield October 10th. Oh, yeah.